find my. Okay, now I'm going to go back to the chat. And I see we've got Simeon. So Simeon said, when I started to niche down and build these services, I created some messaging to help communicate the value of those services. But I've come to realize that the messaging emphasizes a result that, while popular, I believe is an overpromise and isn't the way I want to speak about the problem I help to solve. How do I transition to a new one with some consistency? Okay, that's great. Can you speak to exactly what it isn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my niche, I just finished beta testing, and I'm now starting to start charging still a reduced rate for the services, but essentially it's in branding. It's in helping people who have branded their company, and have basically they are their own designer. And I'm a designer with a lot of experience and have specialized in branding. But I see this area where people need help, and they need kind of a coaching / potentially someone to come in and help them clarify their branding. And the message was brand for loyalty. because I liked how, well, at the time I got really excited about this niche and how I could help people who were struggling with something that I struggled with. But now I realize that it really does tie too tightly into brand loyalty and loyalty programs. I feel maybe I'm overthinking this, sort of the topic of the day. But I also feel like it's an overpromise, because brand loyalty, as much as it's talked about in marketing, isn't, I mean, at least I don't see it in the research and from the stuff that I've read and listened to, it being that powerful. So, yeah.
Interesting. So it's not that powerful in what way? Like what have you come to believe at this point about brand loyalty?
Well, the research that I did comes from the Marketing Institute out of Australia, and essentially with Byron Sharp. And there's some things I really was kind of really appreciated about the perspective that he was offering, and the research that backs it up, and essentially that there's more of a categorical decision that's being made with and functional decision that's being made. People, brand loyalty is often spoken about in marketing as being this thing where your brand can have this like super crazy emotional connection with people. And oftentimes the people I work with, and when I've created visual branding for people, they get really caught up in having meaning and all kinds of packing all kinds of stuff into their branding. And that's important for the exercise to build it, but it's not something that someone online or walking down the street who sees a sign, they're not immediately getting blown away by that, And so mine's a much more functionalist perspective, and that branding really helps people remember you and find you. You need to do it consistently, and sort of focusing on that. And I feel like the brand loyalty portion is kind of speaking to this place where I feel like it's not, I mean, it's part of it, but it's not really the big thing that I'm trying to address.
So what's the big thing?
The big thing in the context of the niches that the people that I'm working with, is essentially creating consistency. Oftentimes, yeah. So they are a mess, essentially. They know they're a mess. They're reinventing the wheel, no matter, like, if they're on Instagram, they're posting all kinds of one way. If they're over here on LinkedIn, they've completely branded it differently. I mean, it's them, maybe it's a photograph, colors, whatever. Pinterest is different, Facebook is different, like it's all over the place. So their website is different, and they're really losing people. It's like, so that's the perspective I'm going for, and that's the point of view I really wanted to speak to, but I was I jumped out of the gate a little bit too quickly, I feel.
Well, first, are you Hannah and Kirsten's brother?
Yep.
Amazing. So good to see you, man.
You too.
Old Edmonton friends here. Well, now I wanted to ask you about them and how they're doing, but we'll keep you
We could do
busy.
that in a session maybe.
Perfect. That'd be great. So I love it. I love what you're saying. I mean, just at a philosophical level, I love it. So there's a few thoughts. One is, boy, what Simeon's saying is just so important. People, yeah, they get so obsessed about this branding, and I'm going to get a logo, and the logo is going to have these three waves, and the second wave represents happiness, and it just nobody cares, nobody knows until they know. I mean, if they learn, it might come to mean that for them, but no, walking down the street, they don't. What matters so much more is there's a few things. One is just clarity of what the hell you're about, the niching question. But once you've got the clarity about the niche, then consistency is huge. And that consistency means one, that you, let's say, are present regularly. It's not a sporadic appearance. You're on Instagram once a year and Facebook 2 times a year, and maybe you send out a couple of emails. Like there's some consistent regularity in the communication, but also consistency in the fonts, the colors, the images, the message, the tone. It's there's an old adage that says the confused mind says no. When people get confused, that is the default response. And so if they, one day your tone is very angry and aggressive, the other day it's very at peace, it seems jarring for people, and they don't have anything to grasp onto. So some kind of consistency is really important. So, I mean, Simeon, the thing I would say that I was like, oh man, I want you to write a blog post. I mean, this is the working title. You may not call it this, but just brand loyalty is bullshit, or brand loyalty is dead. But just rant about it. And it's like, for a long time, I really investigated this and I was really enamored with the idea. But here's what I've finally come to after all these years, is that this is largely a waste of time. And here's what's more important. And this is a great point of view exercise. Just as a question, a kind of template for everybody is, everybody's talking about blank, but they should be talking about blank. Or all my customers are wanting blank when they should really be wanting blank instead. Yeah, this is a good point of view piece. And that's a piece then you could be interviewed about, on podcasts, or if you write articles. This is just a drum that you could beat consistently, where it's like, look, stop going for the brand loyalty, stop trying to do all these things. In that way you've been taught, go for the consistency instead. And you said, they're a mess, and I would love to see you also really articulate, like, here's the top 10 ways that most businesses are a mess that I see in terms of the consistency thing, or here's the 10 places businesses need to be more consistent in my experience. Because again, that can be a checklist, a little quiz, how consistent is your business? Or you could do a consistency assessment. It's like, bring me in, I'm going to do an assessment, I'm going to point out all the inconsistencies, and this is what, yeah,
that's
because I
what
mean,
I'm doing. Yeah,
you are right.
yeah, that's the niche.
I love it. It's very helpful, but you can see the train of thought here. So first of all, we have to establish relevance. Relevance of the business. I want it to be more profitable, get more clients. Aha. So I need to work on my marketing. So the brand loyalty, that's the thing. No, that's not the thing. I went to this talk and he really convinced me about this. So now they're convinced about not working with him, but they're convinced about the idea. Like, that makes sense. Yeah, being consistent. He made a good case. I buy it. And then now he's shared his packages and how he works, and I think I'm going to work with him. There's this chain like that. It's not just, I need to grow clients, and then hire me, I'm the best one to help you get clients. The first thing you have to do with any of these niches is make the case that your approach is better than other approaches.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. So great, Simeon, I love it. By the way, who do you work with? What kinds of businesses are you working with?
I focused in on solopreneurs. I've worked with government, corporations, small businesses. I was in-house for a number of years as well, but I feel like solopreneurs primarily are the ones who are suffering from this. There are some small business owners who also do their own branding and that kind of thing, but oftentimes by the time they're into a small business or medium business, they have somebody who's doing this more or less successfully. There might be an opportunity there too that I'm thinking about, but for now I'm just focusing in on solopreneurs.
Well, and by the way, if you want to put your website in the chat, because if anyone's interested in what Simeon's saying, I mean, go check out his website and his work.
Could I just ask, the transitioning from branding for loyalty to, because I'm finding that I'm talking to people, they come in through the door and it's like, actually, that's not the thing. It's like my messaging is like completely contradictory. It's
So
not.
how do you make the transition from the old message to the new?
Yeah.
I think you have to do it formally. It's got to be a
Yeah.
real kind of ceremonial to do. So
Okay.
it's
Thank you.
I think part of it is like you do the you can send a few teaser messages, if you have an email list or on Facebook. It's like, hey, I've been really rethinking marketing and this branding for loyalty. I'm going to be putting it down. I'll be telling you more about why later, but I'm really excited about what I've come up with. Then it's like another teaser. Hey, tomorrow morning I'm dropping this article, brand loyalty is dead. I'm going to tell you why I think
Yeah.
it's not the thing anymore, or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And then you and maybe that could be the article where it's just you don't even say what replaces it. You just say, here's why I think brand loyalty is not the thing. And then it's like, pay attention for part 2, where I
Yeah.
tell you, what I think goes instead,
Okay.
and then, but yeah, there's some real formal, and then, hey, and here's my new logo, or here's my new look that goes along with it. Here's the things I'm changing. But if we're
Right.
ever making a change in niche or point of view in a big way, I think it's just make a fanfare about it, make it really clear, uh, so that everybody knows. Because if we try to do it quietly, it's just like, what?
Yeah.
People can be confused. So there's that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so you can check out, simeongoa.ca, if you're drawn to that. Oh, and Simeon, the other thing you may have already thought about this is, some entrepreneurs, yeah, they get to a point where they hire somebody, but that person they hire isn't always the best. It may just be a friend of theirs. It may be somebody who's not really so skilled. So one of the things you could consider offering is coaching to their marketing people.
Right.
That this was one of my colleagues, Rebecca Van Dam, does a lot of strategy, social media strategy, and she and I said, look, I'm too busy to do my own Instagram, which is what she was primarily focused on. I said, I could hire somebody, because she said, well, you could hire me to do it, which she doesn't even do anymore. But she said, you could hire me to do it for you. And I said, I could, but you're so expensive. And I could hire somebody for a fraction of the price to do the work technically isn't difficult to post stuff. What I need
Right.
help with is the strategy on what to put. So could I hire you to work with her? I'll pay you to train her and come up with the systems, which is what we've done. And now I meet with her once a quarter to just check in and see how things are going, and then we take it from there. So that's another possibility as a market.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.